What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to talk about white people and what we need to do as a collective to start addressing things. Because right now there are just a lot of white people who are either complicit by being indifferent or complicit by being silent, and that adds to the violence. You know, white silence is white violence. And not only that, but like just this whole, you don't care about it because you don't see it, or you don't care about it because it's not actually going to affect you. Like, you don't have to worry about your loved one getting killed by the police because they have a tassel hanging from their rearview mirror. Like, that's not like a concern for you because that would never happen to you. So white people really need to open their hearts and their minds and their eyes and just like, instead of talking, maybe like shut the fuck up and like listen to the stories that people are telling you, and maybe not like invalidate people's stories, because these are real stories and these are real things that are happening. And whenever you see a video of this, there's video proof, and then you come up with every reason under the sun to discount what you're seeing, that's gaslighting, and that's traumatizing, and that's incorrect behavior. Because how dare you visually see it with your eyes, it'd be put right in front of your face, you're given so many examples, you're given so many reasons, it's broken down for you, and you still decide to have a closed heart and a closed mind. I'm sorry, but the truth is uncomfortable, and it's painful to see how toxic like white people as a whole are and have been for at least 400 years. It goes, I'm sure it goes further back, but to just blatantly ignore the systemic oppression done by like the white patriarchy, and done by organized religion, and done by colonization, to just simply accept the whitewashed version of things. It cannot be tolerated any longer. It is not the responsibility of Black people to educate white people. It has to be white people educating white people, and it has to be white people encouraging other white people to step outside of their comfort zone. So like, there's levels to this shit. There's like a lot to unpack, like, and I process things like chronologically. So if I was to unpack this, which I'm not going to in this video, but if I was, like, I'd have to take you through the decades of the hundreds of years of the suppression here in America. Like, it is so deeply rooted, it's so deeply intertwined, and it's all so deeply connected. Like, you have to unpack that. To be a responsible white person, you have to sit down and really analyze that, and really take accountability, and really be prepared to admit that, wow, my ancestors, my parents, my great-grandparents, my grandparents played a role in this, even if it was like a small subconscious role. Like, there are things and mannerisms and language that you hear as a child that you may not understand until you're an adult. Like, wow, that was inherently racist. Like, that was rooted in racism. That came from fear, or that came from hatred. Like, there are things that may not have ever clicked before, that when you start really putting the pieces together, you're like, wow, that is so messed up. You have to prepare yourself for that, because this journey of unlearning the things that have been taught to you in a whitewashed system, to relearning the parts that were intentionally pushed under the rug, to intentionally hide the ugly truth. You have to be comfortable that this is going to get uncomfortable. You have to brace yourself. And there's a lot of white people who would sit there all day and say, I'm not racist. I have Black friends. I know Black people. I've had Black people over for dinner. You know, it's like a card that's pulled so that they don't have to be accountable for anything, even slip-ups. because we're all human and we're all gonna make mistakes. Like every white person out there, you probably have done something in your lifetime that was racist and maybe you didn't realize it, but that's part of getting uncomfortable and realizing like, oh shit, that thought that I had came from a racist place. And you have to be prepared to admit that. I always think about, like in college, there was this girl who was perfect and very popular and very well loved and very smart. And I will never forget our senior year, and we were in my apartment and she was freaking out about getting into grad school. Mind you, she's like the top of the class, literally, of our college. She's perfect, straight A's, like does extracurricular activities, just, I mean, absolutely perfect. Like you could not have a better college record. And she's white, and she's freaking out about grad school, and like she's like, I'm scared I'm not gonna get into the college that she wanted to get into. And I'm like, dude, why are you freaking out like this? Like you literally have a perfect record, you're gonna get in. And she's like, I know, but I probably don't have any good chances because they're gonna pick black people over me because of affirmative action. And I was like, what? Did you really just say that? This is really what your fear is? The crazy thing is like, she was being dead ass. Like she really thought that a person of color was going to steal her spot and that there weren't enough spots for white people like her because they were gonna pick someone over her. And she did, she got in, and she just graduated recently, and it's just like, wow, this is where your heart's at. Like you make yourself look so charming to everyone else, but this is really where your heart's at. There's so many white people who really need to like take a pause and take a step back and like really analyze themselves and ask themselves. You need to ask yourself questions. You need to ask why. You need to ask where this thought process is coming from. You need to ask where these thoughts and feelings are rooted in. You need to ask yourself if you're one of those people being indifferent, you need to ask yourself why. Yeah, so there's like people out there who are racist and don't know that they're racist. And recently I had like a conversation online with someone like this in regards to the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin case. And because it was like a post that was like, it was a post that said, say America is a failed state without saying America is a failed state. I'll go first. We're having a 4-week trial for a murder that everyone saw. And this white girl who I know from college who is always like saying some slick shit. Like, you know those white people who like, they would never ever say they would never admit they're racist, but they say some real slick shit. And they work in like areas of professionalism where they work with all ilks of people. So it makes you worry about the people of color that they do work with and they do serve and they do come in contact with. Because this particular person is in medicine. So it's like, wow, like, I am so scared for the people of color that you have to serve. Because this is how you think. Like, you are part of the problem and you don't even see it. That's like, it's so alarming and disgusting. And then top all of this off with the fact that we just came out of a 4-year presidency where we had a toxic person triggering people every single day online and riling people up every single day online. And you know, it was shitty because you got to see like, wow, this person really is fucking racist, because the racist got bold, right? But you at least got to see like, oh, this is where you really are. This is who you really are. Like, you, at least the truth came out. That is the one like silver lining of Trump. Like, you really got to fucking see people's true colors. Like, that is something good that definitely came out of it, is like a catalyst for showing the truth, giving clarity to things. But now we've like taken a step. It feels like we've taken a step back with the Biden and Kamala presidency, because now we've got people in office who have been either active or complacent with systemic racism in America. Like, both of them have an extensive history, especially Kamala with privatized prison. It's like, yes, we're not being triggered every single day with something crazy on fucking Twitter, but now people are calm and complacent, and it makes you wonder, was this part of the design, part of the plan to get people to chill out again so that we're not so fucking emotionally wound the fuck up that we don't go out and riot? Is this like a happy medium to keep us under control, to keep us from acting out? Because we should be fucking acting out right now. In the past week, a person of color has been killed by the police every single day in America. We should be acting the fuck up right now, because this is so unacceptable. And then they're still not doing anything about it. No one is doing anything about it. No one is saying this has to stop. I'm sorry, but the Derek Chauvin being found guilty situation is the bare fucking minimum. That same day, a little girl was killed, and people are on the internet making excuses for why she deserved to die, when mass murderers who are white are still fucking alive. They are arrested alive. This little girl called the police to help her because she was afraid of being jumped, and she had a knife on her because she was afraid of being jumped, and she wanted to stand her ground, and she lives in a stand your ground state. And she called for help, she called for protection, and she was slain. She was slain when she asked for protection, and everybody on the internet dogged her. How? How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you so prolifically fail to protect black women and black girls? What is wrong with you that you victim blame and gaslight to that extent? What is wrong with you that you cannot fucking see that a police officer has no fucking right killing people? How can you not see how fucked up this is? That if you ask a child to pretend they're a cop, the first thing they're probably gonna do is put their hands in the shape of a gun and go bang. Like, if you ask the innocence of a child, that is the innocent truth that's gonna come out. That's the ugly fucking truth, that they don't exist to protect and serve. They only do that in rich white neighborhoods with resources because they have the resources to be able to have that. But for the rest of us, we don't have those fucking resources, and we get these fucking monsters harassing us on the fucking street every fucking day. Like, these cops are monsters. There is no such thing as a good cop. Because if there was a good cop, they would stop the bad cops, but they don't. They either get bullied into letting it happen, or they're complicit with letting it happen. Cops are the biggest fucking legal gang in America. This is fucked up, beyond fucked up. But I'm gonna just break this shit down for y'all. I'm gonna read what I wrote because I did a good job at writing it. And listen, I hope you sit here and digest this shit. Watch it a few times, listen to it a few times if you got to, but marinate on this. Because marinate on this shit, dude. You have to start rewiring your thought process, or you're part of the problem. If you're not actively rewiring yourself, if you're not actively growing, and growth is not linear, baby. If you're not doing these actions, you're part of the problem. People are hurting and people are dying and blood is on your fucking hand because you're not doing enough. And you're so fucking selfish that it doesn't fucking matter to you until it affects you. That's disgusting. But I'm gonna read this to y'all. So the girl that I went to school with who is covertly racist. She said, "You don't think every American is entitled to due process and a fair trial," referring to Derek Chauvin. And I said, "I think the justice system is designed to keep people of color, impoverished people, and mentally ill people trapped in a repeating cycle for profit mass incarceration. And I furthermore believe that police are the biggest legal gang in the US, especially considering they are protected indefinitely by immunity laws. I think we all seen the video of a man who was not granted the opportunity of due process and who was judged and executed by a white cop. I think we all saw where a man was asphyxiated for 8 whole minutes and was denied due process. But you're more worried about the rights of the murderer and not the rights of the murder victim. You're the same type of person who would care more if it was a dog that had a knee on its neck than a human being. This is a disgrace. It doesn't take 4 weeks to determine he's a murderer. It takes 4 weeks to defend his immunity on some bullshit claims." And then she goes, "I'm not trying to defend anyone. I just don't want to live in a country where the public or celebrities or a political leader can just decide who should be in prison." That's a fallacy right the fuck there. Because that ain't what nobody fucking said. That's a failed state. We have different opinions. That's a cop-out on some hot button issues. But I don't think any less of you for them, and would never attack your character for having different opinions. So now she's projecting? She's pulling shit out of thin air. And then so I come back with her like, the caucasity of you to even ask this when George Floyd was not given due process or a fair trial and was murdered over a potentially fraudulent $20 bill. I'm not really attacking your character so much as I'm pointing out that you repeatedly show colors that demonstrate you're really not grasping how backwards this system is and how reform is completely necessary. And then my friend chimed in with, I don't. Pedophiles caught with all their child porn and stolen children in their homes and mass shooters should be shot on sight. Due process lets them off easy. And she said, "And who would do the shooting? The police? I think that's the opposite of what we are trying to encourage." And he said, "I was just seeing where you drew the line. So the police are cool to shoot unarmed civilians that have different skin colors, but not the people I mentioned before. So it's okay for the police to kill a guy on a video for 9 minutes, but due process is needed for weeks. Not including the other countless people killed by police on video. The point is the victims weren't given due process, and it's not celebrities and politicians asking for this guy to go to jail. It's us brown and black people wanting justice for shit that happens constantly, but this system lets shit like this walk all the time. The point is the system is fucking broken and needs to change. It's fucked up when skin color dictates if you get due process or not." Bam. Bam. And then she goes, "I think there is a lot we agree on." Cop out. "I want all people to have their day in court." Cop out. That's bullshit. No matter who they are, that's bullshit considering the context. "I don't want people to be killed by police if there's any possible way to avoid it. I think the police across the country need to be given better training and tactics, like substantial hand-to-hand combat training, so they don't have to reach for a taser or a gun in every situation. They are asked to do an incredibly difficult job. Bitch, they signed up for it. Ain't nobody asked them to become a motherfucking cop. You want to be a cop, you should want to be a cop because you want to protect and serve. But you want to know the real reason why a whole motherfucking lot of people become a cop? Because they want that fucking authority. They want that immunity. They want that power. They want to be able to hold a gun and shoot people and be able to get away with it. I have literally had men tell me they wanted to join the military or the police force so that they could shoot people and get away with it. I have literally had men tell me that. And there's a lot of motherfucking men who are cops who are domestic abusers. And they still get to be cops, even though they have all this fucking like aggressive behavior going on. There are problems on top of problems. There's levels to this shit. And she goes on to say, make tough calls quickly. Bitch, so the fuck the doctors. And you know what happens when a doctor kills a patient? Malpractice on that bitch. Doctors don't have immunity, but cops do. You don't think that's a little fucking weird? They aren't gonna get it right every time. That's where the courts come in. I also think that the courts are part of the problem. Judges have too much authority. Judges should not have the fucking authority to decide if a white man gets 6 months and a black man gets 10 years. Just depending on what motherfucking county you're in and how the fuck the judge is feeling that day. Why the fuck does a judge have that much goddamn authority? Why? That ain't right. I also think that individuals are accountable for their own choices, and one man shouldn't be a scapegoat for an entire system that has problems. This right here is clear-cut indicative of a white person who has not bothered to unpack this shit. Because if you have unpacked all this, you would know that is not the fucking truth. I don't know what Chauvin's intentions were, and neither do you. Bullshit. You don't sit on somebody's neck for 8 minutes. And while they explicitly say, I'm dying, and calling out for their mom, and asking you to stop, and begging for help, and begging to live, and saying they're gonna die, you don't not have intentions to kill and still keep doing that. If I grab someone's arm and they say, ow, I let go because, oh my God, I'm hurting you. And I don't want to hurt you. This man did not get his knee off his neck. This man did not fucking stop. There was no intention of him letting him live. He was out there to kill him. That is not a debate. That's where the trial comes in to determine if Chauvin had intent to kill or is responsible for the death. I'm sorry, who the fuck else would be responsible for the death? Is there some sort of ghost or spirit that we're supposed to see or something? No, bitch. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna call you something derogatory if you deserve to be called that. That's what the fuck you are. It's being too polite. It's people being, this is what the fuck gets on my nerve. It's people being too polite, trying to save face. Just be fucking real. Because this is the part of that whole fake ass, unauthentic politeness is like part of the character of a covert racist. And so this is where I start to really break this down for her. And this is probably the part that I would like people to hear. Saying I want all people to see their day in court in the same breath as saying you feel a 4-week trial is necessary to know if he had intent to kill, while the man who was actively killing for 9 minutes cried out for help repeatedly and feared for his life and asked them to stop is just so absurdly outrageous. It's baffling this is somehow going over your head. In some ways, it goes to show that common sense ain't too common. And in other ways, it illustrates the frustration of privilege because you have never known and never will know the fear of a loved one potentially being shot and not making it back home just because of the way they look. Just because they're darker and society subconsciously says that inspires fear and is reason enough to grant cops immunity. You know, there's a joke about white people who are racist but don't know that they're racist. And it's not really a funny joke either because they don't see the error of their ways. It's like, wow, we can't believe these people exist, but here they are. You basically fit that profile. There is an endless list of names of black men, black women, black boys, and black girls who have countless times been wrongfully murdered by the police. Same goes for Latina folks. This is not new. This has been happening since the slave patrol days. Emmett Till happened when our parents were kids because this kind of stuff has always happened in America. It's just traditionally been swept under the rug and kept hush. But in the age of the internet, we can use that platform to band together, spread awareness, and build strength. And that's why you see more of this talked about now, not just because it just started existing, but because now we have the tools to say, look at what I am telling you. I have physical, indisputable video evidence of a murder and multiple eyewitnesses. And yet you still want to dismiss this, and sweep it under the rug and give benefit of the doubt to cops. You really aren't grasping this. You really aren't grasping the problem of immunity laws. There's no registry saying that they can't get hired on a new department. They just switch departments. Hairstylists get more training than a cop does. And there's no laws preventing violent or PTSD-ridden folks from being cops with a loaded gun. That's a problem. There are countless names of people in Georgia alone who were killed by cops and the cops go free. Even Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old, was innocent and didn't see justice. In Georgia, we have Rashard Brooks, who did everything the cops told him to do. The cops were super condescending to him, talked to him like a dog, in a way, we're just talking to him like he was like a stupid child or something. It was so condescending to watch that video. And he still was jovial and did everything they told him to do just to be shot in the back and killed. Jamarian Robinson was shot and mutilated 76 times. 76 times. And the autopsy showed where they beat him to the point his skin was hanging off in multiple places. I was at a protest with Jamarian Robinson's family and saw the photos from the autopsy. It's just like how the slave days were described. Just anger and rage and mutilation of a black man because they know they can get away with it. Kendrick Johnson, another baby, 17, and beaten and stuffed in a rug. The boy who killed him, his dad is an FBI agent. The coroner's office is funded and assigned by the police department. The FBI agent had the coroner remove all of his organs and stuff him with newspapers just so that a false autopsy could be reported so that no blunt trauma could be reported. The elder son confessed to a friend and the friend filed a police report and then that report was swept under the rug. Money, connections, and the white patriarchy and police systems rooted from slave patrol days all contribute to all of these. Finally, the black woman who mysteriously died in Cumming. Cumming is known for its racial disparity history. Read Blood at the Root by Patrick Phillips. It's about Cumming. Those white women didn't report her death until several hours after she died, and they had friends and husbands who are cops. There's something not right going on there. It doesn't take a genius to put that together. Police need more than better training. They need defunding. Generally, most people feel afraid of the police or feel that police are incompetent. It's only people who come from good neighborhoods and good homes who support the police because they've been privileged enough to not have to experience the lack of resources and the immense cultural difference between how a cop responds to a white person and how a cop responds to a black person. Actually, if you don't have time to read, although I strongly encourage you to read the book, watch Fruitvale Station. It's another true story account of what happened to a black man in LA. Just watch it. It's like an hour and a half. Going back to not having firsthand experiences on how cops treat white and black people different, it was caught on camera in the Marietta cop saying to a white girl, "Why are you scared? We only shoot black people, remember?" And then Cobb County did an entire investigation and found it was an old school police chief teaching his department to racially profile and embedding hateful racial tactics and language into how they operate. Very much proving it isn't one person, it is an entire system. This was just 2 or 3 years ago, right here in Georgia. And all the dead black bodies across America is proof and evidence it is very much a systemic problem with cyclic repeating issues. Please do not be so daft that your privilege blinds you from seeing the pattern when there's endless proof in front of your face. That's the problem though. Black people have been saying there's a problem for decades. And now there's all kinds of video proof and they're still getting gaslit by people like you who are more concerned with dismissing the victim's pleas than with acknowledging that there's something terribly wrong and evil at play. All of this is really only unproductive as long as you choose to have a closed heart and closed mind. The moment you start opening your heart up to the fact that white people really aren't that fucking great, the closer we are to addressing this problem and actually creating change that's going to help and protect people. One of my friends added, a few rotten apples is only half of the phrase. Chauvin's hearing is a landmark case for having a fellow officer also testifying against the defendant, meaning that this almost never happens. When you have a few bad apples and the others aren't policing them, the whole bunch is spoiled. And that's why ACAB. That's my rant for right now. White people, we have to do more. We have to be better. This is just fucked up. We have to do better. We have to have conversations. We have to start acknowledging things. Thanks for listening. Feel free to like this, share this, comment on this, blow this up. If you think that white people need to see this, please share this. Call white people out. Don't let it slide. Protect black women. Protect black girls. Protect black boys. Protect black men. Stand the fuck up.